everyone, it's Monica and welcome back to my channel. Well, today we're going to be making a Christmas card using a non-traditional Christmas die. Or I should say non-traditional die. It's definitely not for Christmas. And the die that I'm talking about is this Bigz die, which is the meter. And this came out probably last year. And it's a really popular die. And it's just a shame that you can't use it for more than just grungy, you know, type of steampunk cards. So because it is one of my favorites and I like to get the most out of my products that I use for Tim Holtz, I decided to try to create a naughty and nice meter. So let me show you what I kind of came up with. Now this is what I came up with, and we're going to be creating this today. But as you can see, the meter inside has a naughty and nice. And that was the one thing that I had to kind of think about how I was going to create. Because typically when you are working with this die, you're going to just get the plate and then you get this little meter here. But I really wanted to have a naughty and nice. And I definitely did not have any letters were that small. So I had to kind of put my thinking cap on and decide how I was going to do that. And then I decided, you know, I would just go ahead and create it. I am a digital creator, so why don't I go ahead and create a meter that would work for a naughty and nice card. So that's ultimately what I ended up doing. So the design that I came up with is this one right here, and the design that I used for this card was this one, because when you cut out the die you have this opening, so it was easy just to put this right behind the opening, and I sized it perfectly to work with this die. And then it occurred to me that not everybody may have this particular die, so I wanted to go ahead and create just a meter where you can just utilize it on a round circle to use your die, and then you'll just have to come up with the rest of the design. But at least you have the meter, and you can certainly come up with the circle on your own using one of your own dies to come up with this design. So let's go ahead and kind of tear this card down, and we'll go ahead and we'll create it. So the first thing that I did when I'm working on a design like this is, of course, to kind of come up with the particular design that I want to create, because it does take a little bit of forethought. Now, not only can you create this type of design on a card, but if you wanted to make little tag meters for Christmas, which I probably will be making a few if I get around to them, you can definitely use this chipboard, and I think it would make a really fun tag. Now, if you remember, over Valentine's Day I created these two tags, so this is kind of what I'm talking about, creating some sort of a naughty and nice meter using just one of the tags here. So these are available in my shop, so if this is something that you are interested in, be sure to check out the shop, and hopefully I'll be able to create some naughty and nice meters as well. So you know, don't forget to check out the shop, because a lot of the items that I'm creating in this series will end up in my shop. But let's go ahead and jump into this. Now, I had originally thought I was going to create another card, but maybe we'll go with a tag. Let's see here. I'm gonna kind of see if it would fit. I mean, it probably would. It may be hanging off the side a little bit, but no, let's go ahead and just stick to the tag, or excuse me, the card, and then I'll just create these at a later date. All right, so this is a 5x7 card, and this is your base, so you could easily turn this into an A card if you chose to do that as well. And the paper that I'm working with is the Halloween, came out I think last Halloween. It's the Tim Holtz paper, and it's this one right here. I don't have the top of it, but it's just a collage paper stack, and it's great for grungy types of cards, especially if you don't want to necessarily pull out all of your inks. So I ended up just using my die to cut out some of the paper that I thought would work great for the background, and then I put the card together. So another thing I wanted to share with you is on this card here, as you can see, the little screws are a little bit raised, And the way that I did that is because the die is a Bigz die, I was able to also cut out just some chipboard, and then I glued the paper right onto that just to give it a little bit of lift and make it look a little bit more authentic. So once you have your paper cut out, again, I'm working on a 5x7 card. So typically when I'm working on a card, I will cut my paper 1/4 of an inch. And this particular one, because the paper came in 8x8, I ended up cutting it right in half so I can get 2 cards. So this one is 4x6. So you have a little bit of a bigger border on this. And then I wanted to go ahead and distress the edges, so I'm using my distresser from Holtz, and I am just edging up the outside to create a little bit of a grunge. And all the tools that I'm using today, as well as the product, I will leave links below so you can check it out if this is something that you want to duplicate. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how you can get the digital Naughty and Nice. So stick around so you can get that information as well. Alright, so once I distress my edges, I'm just using some Walnut stain distress ink, and I'm just adding that to the cardstock. And then I'm going to use some of my 3-in-1 beacon to go ahead and adhere it. Now, because I've already created this card, it's going to come together pretty quickly. Most of the time it takes to put together a card is just in the design process. But once you have your design down, then it's easy to create multiple cards. And while this particular card might look a little bit time consuming, it's really not. I mean, especially if you decide to cut your dies in kind of a assembly line, so you can cut several of your dies all at the same time, and that way you don't have to keep getting up and down. So if this is a particular type of design you want to do for Christmas, then just kind of be strategic about the way that you're cutting it out. Cut everything out at the same time, so that way when you sit down to create, you have several pieces to work with. Alright, so once you have your base set out, then you want to go ahead and just adhere your meter. And if you don't have any of the Holtz paper, you can easily just distress some of your own paper. But I really liked how it kind of looked like a circuit, so I thought it worked well for my Naughty and Nice. So I got that laid down, and then this again was pre-cut, so I'm going to go ahead and just edge it up so none of that white is showing. And then before I adhere that, I want to cut out my meter. Now remember, if you don't have this die, you can easily just cut out a circle and then cut this out to go right on top. But because I do have the die, I can go ahead and just layer this right behind my meter, and then I'll just trim it after the fact. So I'm going to add a little bit more liquid glue here. And then with the liquid glue, you always have some movement, so you just want to get it lined up so none of that white is showing. And then once you have it lined up, go ahead and just press it down, and then you can use your scissors to trim it. Now, one thing that I didn't do on this card that I did on the last one, which I probably should have done, is I did grunge up the meter a bit. So as you can see, this one's a little bit more grungy, but you can certainly do it after the fact. You just want to make sure that your paper's not going to move on you, because it is probably still a little bit tacky from gluing it down. But I'm just holding it in place, and then I'm just adding some of that Distress ink onto the meter. All right. So now that I have this in place, I'm going to go ahead and add some more adhesive and stick that right in the middle. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and figure out where these little guys want to go. I think it will work right there. And again, if you wanted this to be a little bit lower, certainly you can do that. But this is fine for me. All right, and then just get a little bit of glue once you figure out where your characters are going to go. And what's nice about this isn't out of the Christmas paper dolls. This is just the regular paper dolls. So as you can see, you can really make your paper dolls go a long way. There are several of the paper dolls that have the little arm resting that work really nice on the meter, but you certainly don't have to do that. This little girl here I think would be so cute for this card as well, and I might actually use her when I make a tag. Okay, so I've got my little guys in place, and then I am going to use a metal element. But I do want to have it stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to grab my Distress Crayon Picket Fence, and I'm going to add some of that, just to get some of that white into the crevices. And as you can see, that went on really easily. And then you can just take a paper towel. Let's see if I have one around here. So I just got a paper towel. You can use a wet wipe, whatever works for you. And then I'll just wipe some of that off. And then as you can see, it kind of stuck in there. All right, so take a little bit of glue so it will hold in place before I put my brads. And we'll be adding some brads to that in just a minute. Okay, so now that you have your layout, it's time to put your little screws. And as you can see, I didn't put those on right away because I knew my paper dolls would be covering them, and I didn't think that I would need all of them, and as you can see, I didn't. So I just need to put them on this side here, and get another one. Put my second one. And just adding a little walnut stain to the edges. It's all in the details. All right, put that right there. Okay, coming along here now. I was able to find a Naughty and Nice on the first card. As you can see, I used it December 25th and Always Believe. But I was able to find Naughty and Nice, and I thought this was cute because you have two little boys here and you can decide which one is naughty and which one is nice. Maybe they're both nice, but I thought it was cute to do the Naughty and Nice with the two little boys. All right, and then looks like the last thing we need to do, other than putting our two brads, is to put our meter. Now, if you put a hole and a brad through it, you might be able to have the meter move. So let me see if I can actually make that work. So I'm going to go ahead and color this up. I may end up just putting some paper over this. I thought I had cut some, but it doesn't look like it. So let me get some paper to cover this and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get a little bit of glue. And this little thing my husband shared with me, he does models, and it goes right on the edge there, and it makes it real thin, so that's kind of a nice little find. All right, and we'll stick that down. Okay. And then again, if you want to add a little distress ink on the edges, you want to do that when your glue is tacky enough that your paper is not going to be moving all over the place. All right. So let's see if we can make this little meter move. First thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to punch a hole into it. Alright, so let's see if we can. That was a little off-centered. That's okay. And then we're going to need some brads. Let's see if I can find my brads around here. All right. And then you want your brad to be kind of long because it's going to need to go through a lot of layers here. All right. And it's a little off center, but I'm not going to sweat it. And then poke a hole with just any type of poker that you might have. And then you can stick it in. And then turn it over and flip it. And now you have a little meter that you can change to naughty and nice. All right. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can have it stagnant like this one is here, or when you're creating the card, have it so it moves. And then all you have to do is finish it off by adding your brads here. Let's just cut a little hole here. Let's see. I think I'll go with these. Okay. Turn it over, flip your brads down. All right. And then the last thing you got to do, of course, is just put it right on top of a card. Now, don't forget, I am doing Christmas in July all month long. So if you haven't been following along, be sure to go back to the beginning of the month so you can find some of these cards to kind of get you ready for your Christmas projects. All right, so as I promised, I said I would go ahead and tell you how you can get your hands on these meters. So I'm going to go ahead and put these as a freebie over in my shop, and you'll find the link below along with the code to be able to download this freebie. And I'll make it available as a freebie for the month of July, so that way y'all can use it. And then what I think I might do is I might actually turn this into a kit as we get closer to Christmas. I'm not sure yet, but this will at least get you started, especially for those of you that have the die to create some of your naughty and nice cards. And it's just a fun little card, and it is very decorative. It looks like it's a lot more work than it really is, which it's really not. So if you want to make some fancy cards and, you know, wow all of your family and friends this Christmas, this is a really great design. Very easy to put together. I'll make sure that I make this available for you over in my shop, so that way you can download it and print it. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the next videos in my Christmas in July series. So we'll make these little boys nice because they are so sweet, but certainly as we get closer to Christmas, they may go to naughty. So we just got to kind of keep an eye on them. All right, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed my video, and we'll see you again next time.